I feel like it would actually help so many of you guys if you just accepted the fact that human beings are capable of not only evil shit, but probably some of the most evil shit on planet Earth. And if you can see that, not avoid that as if you aren't an evil person, but just know that is attached to our humanity. And if we don't hold each other accountable, we have a very, very great chance of destroying not just the world that we have created, but the world that we get to live on and everybody else has access to, independent of our control of them or it. Then you're going to be like, oh, all of these other like demons and ghosts and ghouls and like nightmarish kind of things I'm supposed to be afraid of, especially the movie stuff, that shit isn't scary, bro. Real people are actually scary as fuck. And you know what the scariest type of human being is? Somebody who is doing an activity, fully pursuing an activity, without thinking that anybody is going to be able to hold them accountable. That is when the most evil, diabolical, demonic stuff happens at the hands of a human being. And this is what allows me to see through the people who are using religion as a blanket or a means to really sedate themselves from the natural evil or darkness that they hold within them, rather than accepting that is a potential and then creating steps and having habits and routines and reinforcements to make sure that they don't press that or impose that negatively on somebody else or somebody else's reality. So we can basically say, well, I'm not doing 1,000,001 things that are evil, and I am doing the 12 things that I've been told to only focus on and only do that are good. So I can't be evil, can I? I'm a Christian. I can't be evil. I'm a white dude who's earned everything off merit and grit and hard work. Okay, maybe I'm jumping that. But I don't put anything past anybody. And maybe this is a little bit of like the true crime and like the law that I like, the kind of legal stuff that I watch. But I've never gone to sleep having a nightmare about anything other than a human being. And how a human being, out of their own selfish, narcissistic behavior, whether it's crabs in a bucket or it's just like grandiose personality, will go out of their way to sabotage my life for the sake of their feelings. Just made up feelings. And okay, that's a whole other conversation. I'm not saying feelings are made up. That's a whole other conversation. But another thing that I want to add to the end of this is that what other species that's been living on Earth for more than like 3 or 4 generations, what other species sees Earth or feels this Earth experience and then says, we have to not only create a bunch of structures, literally create a whole entire infrastructure that coddles our inability to live in alignment with nature, and on top of that also proves to us that we are not from here because nature does not accept us or want to accommodate us. And on top of that, we develop this weird psychosis, which is found in a lot of major religions, that says that, oh, we were given this world to own or like to claim, but we don't take any responsibility for it in a sense that will allow the world to also be able to sustain itself independent of our exploitation of it, because we don't reciprocate properly. Colonialism and capitalism only know how to take and then sell dreams and lies to hope that they can continue to exploit from the victim that they're taking from. And then they feed you a religion or a philosophy that will basically just self-gaslight you to make sure that you're the one who's extracting the soul out of your own self to give to your oppressor or your master, rather than them actually having to whip it out of you every single day. But on top of living on top of an Earth, instead of integrating ourselves with an Earth, well, that would also force us to respect the people who were on this land that we call a country before we colonized it. That would force us to respect other people of other lands, especially where they come from, rather than stealing them to go build our country on the other side of the world. That would require us to be intuitive and actually be in tune with our emotions and our feelings and our desires and our demographic and our culture. Oh, wow. Oh, fuck. Okay, we made it to the conclusion. What if your fear-based religion, because I believe religion, if it exists at all, should be founded on love and rooted in the love of not only the self, but others, community, things that are good and holy and righteous. But if your fear-based religion is actually not you fear so much that you love, maybe it's actually a fear of the master, that is the God you worship, and then it is also a fear of nature and your existential loneliness on this planet that has a bunch of species that don't look like you. So you're going to call them alien or savages or non-human or non-desirable. And then also has a bunch of like rotating seasons and like these complex cyclical structures that force you to surrender to them and like become something on the back end of that surrenderance, rather than trying to protect yourself out of fear and insecurity that you don't want to change and you don't want to lose the little bit of power that you think you have. So then you have to actually put a stake in the collective timeline and force every single person that you meet to line up with your timeline, one that's leading to self-destruction for everybody, rather than humble yourself enough to submit to the collective ongoing that is going and figuring out how you can contribute to that, instead of trying to colonize it all just to sabotage it all. And then blame, oh wait, you can't blame anybody else when you've already killed or colonized everybody as a means of global domination. I guess we're just watching that happen though.